just go for it.
Oh, I love that.
Because, I mean, I did that moving out to San Diego, then kind of like settled that feeling a little bit and wanted to get kind of that safety net going a little bit. Same thing with Branded Bills. I had restaurants, they were doing well. Could have sat back on that, but I don't think you'll ever regret going for it.
That is right. This is the FITposium podcast, and that's also right. I'm your host, James Patrick, and I got a very special guest with me today in our studio, a gentleman that I've known since the spry age of 15 years old, Dave Dickert, one of the co-founders of Branded Bills. How's it going, sir?
Great, James. Thanks for having me on.
So I've not seen you probably since we graduated high school.
I think that's about right.
Yeah. So you've gone through a journey since
Absolutely.
then. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So I want to get into like Branded Bills and what you and another guy we went to school with, Josh, have created with this really amazing company. But before we get into that, let's just kind of get some beats. Like, so literally, like the last time I saw you was probably graduation day. We're 18 years old, and then what happens to your trajectory at that point, man?
Definitely. So I was playing football at the time. Stayed in Tucson. Went to the JUCO there. Pima, played there for 2 years. Didn't know exactly what I wanted to do after that. Moved out to San Diego, got into the restaurants out there, started bussing tables. I was just kind of like, hey, I'm going to get out of the heat, go out to San Diego, enjoy it. So bussing tables, worked my way up through the restaurant, eventually started managing and kind of enjoyed it. I like that fast pace, customer service aspect of it, just enjoy food. So it's kind of a good fit for me. So did that for a couple years in San Diego. Had an itch to kind of get out on my own. Got into a coffee shop with another gentleman. Tough business.
Running the coffee shop? This was still in
San
Diego.
Yeah, this was in San Diego. So we opened that place up. That was tough. Sold that, and then I had my brother up in LA, the new gentleman that wanted to start a Greek restaurant. So with my restaurant experience, I was like, yeah, let me get up there, do that with him. We ended up having those for about 7 years, and met my wife in LA. We were ready to kind of settle down a little bit. She didn't care particularly for the restaurant hours, which are always tough. And so kind of about that time, we were talking about doing different stuff. Branded Bills was just kind of forming, getting going. Josh was putting it together, and I wanted to put my hat in the ring with that. So talked to him. We kind of talked with the other guys, decided it'd be a good fit for me to join them. And, that was beginning of 2016. So since then, let me backtrack a little bit. So my wife and I traveled for 4 months and then moved to Scottsdale to go, full-time with the business January of last year.
Okay. What an amazing trajectory that this brand has had in such a insanely finite amount of time.
Yeah.
I had come across, we were talking offline, I had come across the company just looking for hat embroidery companies, and I saw that you guys were local, and I was like, oh, okay, this is interesting. Let me start looking into that.
Did you know the connection at the time?
No,
okay.
I had no idea. I found the company, then started seeing the ads, a lot of the ads, which, hey, good. And then it was like maybe 2 weeks after that, I got an email from Josh saying, I don't know if you remember me, I grew up down the street from you when we were kids. And I was like, you've got to be freaking kidding me. That's amazing how everything came together. I have just a totally unrelated question, because you said that you were you ran a coffee shop for a bit.
Yes.
You said that was hard.
Yes.
Because I have a really great idea for a coffee shop.
I think that's everybody's first kind of like, hey, I like going into a coffee shop. It's chill. I know the kind of music. I like coffee. But the thing is, you go in there and you have to realize that those are like $1.78, $3 transactions sitting in the coffee shop that then are there for 3 hours hanging out doing work.
What about, what was the name of your coffee shop? Because mine's all in the name.
So this was a Hawaiian franchise. It was called Java Kai.
Ah, okay.
And so, it was good. It was a great experience.
Yeah.
Coffee hours are also now from 5 a.m. to 11 p.m. And I was doing all those hours 7 days a week. So, I was grinding away. It was just tough.
That's a good coffee pun right
there.
Yeah,
right, exactly. So it was good, man. I just it was time for something new.
Yeah.
What was your idea on the
okay,
coffee
so it
shop
drives
real
me.
quick?
Mine's all in the name.
Okay.
And the name is everything. But it drives me crazy. Like I still live in Tucson. That there's really no late night coffee joints in Tucson.
Okay.
And usually when I go to a coffee joint, it's usually later in the evening. It's to just like do some writing, and I'll be there for a few hours. So like I'm usually at that register once an hour trying to get something. And it just drives me crazy. And I remember being a student. I was like, we had Coffee Exchange, like right down the street. But it doesn't exist anymore, or it's all the way on the other side of town. I'm not driving. Yeah, I'm not driving like an hour to get coffee. So I was like, what if there was a late night only coffee joint called Open Latte?
I like it.
That's a good name. Yeah. That name right there needs to be trademarked.
The other thing that's tough is you have to realize, I mean, as you know, with any business, when it's operating, it's hard for you to turn off. And restaurants are open 7 days a week.
Yep.
And so you're on call all the time. So like if you're able to enjoy your weekends right now, have a nice time with your wife, go camping, that's hard to do when you have restaurants. You're still always thinking about your business and kind of like being aware of what's going on and how that could apply. But I mean, when you get the call that, hey, the fryer went down, or hey, the refrigeration's not working, or this person didn't show up, it's tough. You know, so
because you feel attached to it.
Well, that, and you want to put forth a quality product. If those things aren't there, you can't do that. So
I want to step back a bit because I think this is interesting that right out of college you started to want to do something more than work for someone else.
I think so. Yeah.
Where did that come from for you?
I don't know where it necessarily came from. I know like through high school I'd always kind of have like, oh, I'm going to do this. I kind of want to like sell shirts, but never really acted on it. Like it was always ideas. And I think I was always timid to just go out there and do it. Like moving to San Diego, I didn't necessarily like have a plan or anybody out there. I remember when I first moved out there, so I moved out there with a guy. We were supposed to like stay with his aunt. We had a place for like 3 months till we got on our feet. That guy bailed, and I was like on the floor of like some other guy we went to high school with, barely knew. And I was thinking to myself that first night, man, what did I just do?
What did I do?
And so like that was kind of that first like leap at like, okay, you can just put yourself out there, go after it. It works out. So I don't know where it necessarily came from, but it was just kind of a desire to be able to create and have that freedom to do it. And I think working in restaurants, working with people, sometimes I felt like that was kind of hard, like wasn't able to do it. So I'm like, okay, if I want to be able to do that, you got to be with people that either allow you to or it's on your own. So,
it's interesting because so many people wouldn't even take that step. They wouldn't even move out to San Diego. They wouldn't even have that night sleeping on a friend or really a stranger's floor,
definitely.
Like wondering what the hell did I get myself into, or now I'm going to invest into this franchise, or now I'm going to try this. And then to realize that if it doesn't work, that's fine. Close it and pivot.
And that's the biggest thing. I think people have a hard time like taking that off and like being able to move on to the next one. It's kind of, I've had the experience, what you always hear is like, hey, you're going to fail a couple times before you fall into something or be able to build something. And I mean, it's proving to be true for myself. I know there's those people that, have been able to hit home runs every time. I wasn't one of them, but I look back and I go, okay, I learned this. And if Branded Bills was 10 years ago, I don't think we'd be having the success we are right now. It's, those all play a part in the success I'm having now. And if Branded Bills fails, like I'll come up with something else, and I've learned a ton of stuff in the last 3 years, and we'll do something else after this. So it's, if you're going to hold on to those things and not be able to pivot, like you said, I think you're probably not supposed to be an entrepreneur, because that's kind of what it's all about. Or if you're emotionally attached to one idea, you're not going to be able to pivot. And that's what, we always try to talk about is like, hey, take a step back. I know this is our business, but what are people telling us? Like, what are we seeing? Because for us, it's easy to get fired up. Oh, they don't know what they're talking about. Or like, no, we really want to do this. But at the end of the day, that's just like kind of ego and emotion tied to it. And we want to detach and make like solid business decisions, being able to take a step away, I guess.
It's helpful to give that context where, and I've had this happen to myself where, we have several vertical components to the business that we run, and they're going really well. We have great clients, we have great services, and it's going really well. And we're trying to build tangential businesses, some new verticals, but it takes time, and it's easy to forget how much time it takes to build something, and the audience isn't matured enough yet, and it's just not selling. And it's just like, I remember I was talking to my wife, it was about a month ago, and she's like, "Yeah, you're really being intense on this project. Like that's just not working." I'm like, "Yeah, I know." And she's like, "Well, why?" I'm like, "Well, what if it doesn't work?" And she says, "Well, you do what you do then, which is you do something else." I'm like, "Oh yeah." And I'd forgotten about it in that moment, because when you're in the thick of it, you can lose that hindsight or that foresight to see like, "Oh yeah, if this doesn't work, I can just do something else, just like I chose to do this."
And I think, people spend so much time trying to like make it perfect, or trying to like make sure it's the perfect product that I'm putting out there. And I mean, even within the office, there's stuff like, "Oh, how is this system going to work? What are we going to do here? How do we set up this?" And it's like, let's just start doing it, and those things are going to pop up. They're going to arise. It's tough, man.
But I almost kind of like that, and I like your willingness to pivot. I was talking to another friend of ours who will be presenting at our conference this year, and she talks about like a true entrepreneur is someone who can respond like water. Like water comes up against an obstacle, it's going to move around it and continue on wherever it's planning to go, wherever it's destined to go. And that's how she looks at pivoting, and that really resonated with me. It's like, yeah, you're going to come up with something that's guaranteed. Just flow around it.
Yeah.
Like you can do that.
Yeah.
So let's get into now the idea behind Branded Bills. Where did this come from, and really how did this start to gain some traction and momentum for you guys?
Definitely. So Sam Coyle was in South Dakota, and he was involved in a brewery at the time. He's one of our co-founders as well, and he wanted to come up with a unique marketing swag piece that he hadn't seen anywhere. So he goes, gets a piece of leather, cuts out South Dakota, brands their brewery name on it. Josh bought it, Tim bought it. Everybody's kind of like, "Man, I love that hat. Where'd you get it?" And kind of thought, hey, we could do other states with this look. People want to represent their state pride. Let's try Arizona. Tried Arizona. People were catching on to it. Let's try New Mexico, Colorado, Texas. So we just kind of slowly expanded that out, realizing that people either love where they're living or love where they're from.
Yep.
And so there's a lot of pride associated with that. So we've just kind of continued to expand. Once people started seeing all the state stuff, they were wondering about custom logos. Can I put my company name on it? Can I do a bachelor party? What can we do with that? So we're like, sure, absolutely. Started doing that, and it's really just kind of grown. I want to say organically. Like you said, we push very hard on social media, but a lot of it's been word of mouth in the beginning. We would buy 12 hats, be able to make them, take the money we took from that, be able to buy 24, kind of that bakery model where, we didn't have big money starting up. We were just like, hey, let's slowly grow this. And that's what we did. Everybody would kind of trickle in their time as they had it. And as it grew, people put more time to the point now, I think at year 2, everybody went full time on it.
That's amazing. So what was it at that point, or did it happen before where you guys all looked at each other and like, oh, we have something here. This is not just a fun idea or a side hustle. We have something here.
So what's funny about that is yesterday we were having a conversation with somebody. We were interviewing them, and we got off the phone. The guy's got an incredible resume, like really well done. I'm going, but why us? So I don't necessarily think we have that mindset of like, we've made it, we're on to something. It's like, all right, like let's keep on chugging away here. But I don't think any of us have gone, we have something here. I mean, we realize it's had a little bit of success and it's doing well, but I'm not there yet, So it's interesting when people say like, oh, you guys are onto it, or people tell us you really have something. It's like, well, not yet. I mean, it hasn't been life changing for all of us. Like all our employees haven't significantly made a difference in their life, and that's kind of what we're looking at, is like when all those things happen, and I can look at like, oh, there's certain people that have, when they came in, they were here, and now they're here, like have shown incredible growth. That's when I'll get excited. Or when I can see it in other aspects of the business, that's maybe when I'll say that. But to date, it's kind of, we're very humble about it and just going, hey, we have to keep going, keep going, keep going.
I admire that. I think it's important to stay rooted in that
Yeah.
because then you stay connected to the fact that this is a startup between what you guys are
100%,
doing. And I think that also has a high resonance with your audience where, you know, I'm a consumer, I want to come to you guys. I don't feel like I'm just going to deal with a faceless corporation, like that there are actually individuals who work there and you can get to know them, and there's a face of this brand, which I think is really important too. But like, it's grown and it's scaled so rapidly, but I like that you still have that foresight of, this is what I want to see within our culture, this is what I want to see within our staff, within our own lives. I think it's important to balance that together.
Yeah, and that gets tough as you grow. Like we've kind of started in the last month doing brews and bills. So we'll have coffee, you know, maybe.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, you know, just a half hour. As we grow, we have, you know, an office team that's in one building. We have a production team that's in another building. So they're split. We're constantly growing those teams. So just a way to keep that culture going, bring everybody together, half hour, once or twice a month, let them kind of like talk, who's the new guy, like, all right, let me touch base with them, to continue growing that. Because that's, I mean, as we grow, naturally there's more space between the four of us and the employees. So it's like making sure that that culture is still there. It's trickling down to, you know, everybody. It's the same culture as the first day that we started and we had one employee, that they still feel like it's the same company. You know, It's going to grow. Things are going to change. We have to tighten up certain areas, but keep everybody excited, keep them informed of kind of what's going on, is what we try to do, you know, because it's, otherwise I think you let that get away. Now, you know, is the guy just clocking in, clocking out and not excited about the place he's working, the brand, know what's going on? Because those guys are advertising or, you know, talking billboards just as much as like our advertisements on social media. I want somebody to come in there and go, I love working for this company. This is what they're doing. You know, we try to be aggressive with like the benefits we can offer, any of that stuff to really like make those people better and keep that culture.
So I want to dive into, the actual business itself, because you have really a couple major components of the business. You have your products that you've already created, which you know, most of them being the branded states, but then you also have your custom division as well. Is the idea to use the one to support the other, like using the created products to encourage people to eventually move into custom, or are they just too independent?
No, absolutely. And that's how it's kind of gone, is as people come across the site, they see the state-based stuff, get into it, get their first hat, love it, see the quality, the uniqueness of the leather, realize that, you know, we've developed a process where we can get these really unique cutout shapes. If you were stitching, you wouldn't be able to do that. And then I've got a party or I've got a family reunion, my company, that flows into the custom. But the way we're kind of thinking of it is one can support the other. There's, you know, in retail, there's natural like flows of like busy seasons and, you know, in September, same thing in the restaurant. It's always slow. People went back to school. They just did a bunch of purchases for their kids. So when that's going on, okay, great. Now we have this custom arm that supports and gets us through that. So we're always kind of looking at different ways to have revenue channels that if Instagram, Facebook were to shut down and we don't have a way to advertise or reach our customers, we have this other one. Now we have wholesale, which is coming on real strong. You know, national retailers are wanting our brand in their stores. So great. Now if custom and online weren't down, we have our wholesalers, you know? So always kind of looking, what is that next arm to really be able to spread our business out so we're not reliant on just one area of it.
It's critically important. I was talking to someone on the phone today where they had built this was a number of years ago, they had built their Facebook presence up and something like organically 400 followers. And that's really good for Facebook. And with zero paid advertising, their page got hacked, and then Facebook shut down the page, and that was it. 400,000 gone. And I was just like, okay, so what did you learn?
Lesson learned. Yeah.
What did you learn? And it was like, well, there should have been a call to action. There should have been a transition. There should have been a push to an email list or something else where you can then collect some information. Because guess what? you guys, I mean, you're really big in advertising on Instagram, but guess what? That could shift tomorrow.
And it does. I mean, we're constantly dealing with, hey, we're running well. Wait, what just happened?
What just happened?
They switched up this. Now you have to dive back in there, figure it out. So things are kind of screwy for a couple of days. And so just with that mindset, it's like, okay, well, what if that completely shut down? We have to be ready for the next thing, And that's what we try to do, is just kind of be ahead of any potential issues that could pop up.
Yeah. So stepping outside of paid advertising, I know you guys have been really, really, really good at connecting with like some of the people who've bought your hats, who love them, who like are obsessed with them, and you've created this amazing evangelist culture around Branded Bills. I'd like to just kind of hear what your strategy was behind that, because it seems to have really worked out.
Definitely. So we just wanted to kind of continue that culture of like being active, being outside. What are you doing in your hat? Like, our hats aren't an embroidered hat that you'll throw away after a while. It's a leather patch. It gets character over time. So you're going in the ocean, you're going for hikes, whatever you're doing. Like, we kind of like say that you can look at that hat and it's going to tell a story just by the way the leather has changed over time. So with that, share your story with us. What are you doing?
Yeah.
Are you out hiking? Are you watching your kids? And so people love it, and people want to be a part of a community. And that's really what we're trying to create, is a community of, hey, we're active, stand-up people that like to work hard and like to have fun too, you know? And people have bought into it and like to show the adventures they're going on with the hat. So I would say that's it, is just really trying to, and then of course we've aligned with a couple great influencers that are extension of that culture, and they just continue to invite more people into our community, show them what we're all about. So, sometimes I wish I could say there was like a purposeful plan that we laid out, but it's kind of just, we've tested things, it's done well, and we're like, okay, cool, this is working. Let's continue to grow that way. That's kind of what we've done.
And for so many of the listeners of this show, that's a point to drill home at, because there are a lot who listen to the show who are trying to create their own products and trying to get their products into people's hands to create that story. And I think the point you made that I really liked is you encourage people to make their own stories with it, and you're just the medium that shares their stories.
Definitely, and that's when you're smaller, it's tough because you're not getting a lot of that content, and so that's something we had tried before, and we just didn't get enough of a reaction to really be able to push that out. Now people are aware of like, okay, this is the brand, this is what they're doing, this is what they stand for. Now they put it out there, so we're able to repost that, use it. Just recently, right now, we're putting together a launch for Mother's Day. So we put something out on social media. Hey, live in the Valley. Are you active? Do you hike, play tennis, whatever it is? And we're getting a ton of responses on that. People want to be a part of it. Where a year ago, we wouldn't have any responses. So it's cool that, what we're setting out to do and build that community, now people are getting it and want to be involved in it. And, that's a big turning point for us, because you kind of have that idea, but you don't necessarily know if people are joining that movement or whatever idea that you're trying to do. And they are so far for us.
Yeah, it's almost like you just have to have the faith that the more you continue to put this message out and ask for people to join in on the conversation.
And being genuine to like who you are.
Yes.
I mean, like if I was trying to be like a tattooed rock star type, it would come off that that's not who you are. Like you're trying way too hard. And anybody that like is that would be like, that's fake, man. That's not who those guys are. And so everything we've done, we've never tried to go into something that one of us is not. So if it's, let's say, hunting, some of us hunt. If it's into the breweries, Sam's into the breweries. Whatever that is, it's like we can stand up and talk with these guys because it genuinely is something we're excited about.
It's coming from a place of authenticity.
Yeah, and so I think some people try to go, hey, we're going to go after this community or this demo. It's like, well, unless you know that and that's who you are, it's going to come across. Like people are going to see right through it. And so we've never really set out to go after somebody. We've just sold hats to stuff we're interested in. Let's go after, a gym. Well, we go to the gym. Let's go after this or that. So I don't know, that's been big for us.
Well, and so I was talking to someone else, and I think there's a giant chasm when we think about sales, when we think about marketing. We think, well, I'm not good at marketing, or maybe I'm not good at sales. And when I hear that, what I'm hearing is someone thinks that what a salesperson is it's the person trying to sell them a used car, like a crappy used car, or it's the telemarketer blowing up their phone, or it's the person that is spamming their inbox. And if that's what you're doing, like, or like as you said, if you're just like we're wearing like fake sleeve tattoos, and you're like trying to like, oh yeah, I'm one of you guys. Like, yes, that is disingenuous. That is not authentic, and that's going to be seen, and it's going to be it's just like, we don't want to hear from you. You're not part of this. Like, why are you trying to pretend like you are? So that's that thing that we're trying to avoid. But if what we're talking about, one, we believe in, and you obviously believe in your product, and you believe that people are going to love your product. You believe people can celebrate your product. So you believe in what you're doing. So that's one. Like, so you're not selling something that is inauthentic or disingenuous to you. But then two is you're coming from a place of, I'm just sharing the story of what this is. How could that possibly be that negative connotation? You're just sharing something you love to someone who you know is going to love it too. That's going to be one of the best conversations you have that day.
Yeah, I think that passion comes through. You can see it. If somebody's talking about something that they're selling, it's a hard sell, and they can't just relax and talk about and tell you like the different things about their product. And so, sales, fortunately for hats, are easy. I wear hats all the time. I think everybody needs a quality hat. And so it's not necessarily I'm going in really push. It's like, hey, we've got a great product here. If it's not for you, I understand. You'll probably come around in a little bit and realize what we're doing and why you should do this. But if not, like, I'm not going to try to beat down that door and just make that deal, because it's a waste of time.
Well, and even that approach is inauthentic to you.
Yeah, exactly. 100%. So like, if it's not a good fit, it's not a good fit. Like, I will follow up and try to come back around. But if sales to me is just being excited about what you're selling, being able to go in there, talk about it, and that's going to come through. And if people see that passion that you have for it and it applies to their business, they're going to want to have a relationship with you because they know you're paying attention to the details of your product. Some people go in there and they're like, sell. They don't care about the product. So when an inferior one comes through or the service isn't there, they're not excited about it. They don't care about that relationship. So, it's interesting when people say, I don't like sales. I don't think they have something they're excited about.
So we had Josh, one of the other co-founders, come out and speak to our mastermind that we run, which is 12 entrepreneurs. And Josh called me like a couple of days before. He's like, hey, I'm not really sure what I'm going to say. I'm like, I'll give you like a 5-hour block. Just roll with it. He's like, what? I'm like, no, just 10 minutes. Just see what happens. And he came in, and one of the mastermind members knew about the company because of one of your ambassadors or affiliates. And she's like, oh my God, I love that person. I see the hats all the time. I freaking love this. And I told Josh, just tell the story of the brand. And like, people like they were just loving it. And he was having a great time sharing the story. And afterwards, he's like, I can't believe that went by so fast. I'm like, exactly. Like, you love what you're talking about. You love what you're doing. You love what you're creating. And you had a group of people who were hanging on every word of what you were saying because of it.
And I think that's a tough thing too. Like, I know we've been very hesitant, is like, when we do that kind of stuff, we want to make sure we're providing value. And that's always a hard thing because we're still figuring it out. So if you were coming over here peppering me with questions of like, give me the playbook of how to do this, I'd get to page like 2 and be able to tell you like how to launch, because I mean, we're still figuring all this out. And our biggest thing is like, we don't want to go out there selling ourselves as like know-it-alls or anything like that. On the flip side, like, I love hearing people's stories, so that's where we go out there too. And it's like, man, people just want to know what we're doing. If they get a little tidbit of help from us, great. But if nothing else, like, hey, they heard our story and we're excited about it.
It's amazing the number of entrepreneurs that we'll have up on our stage at FITposium or that we interview on the podcast. And regardless of where they're at in their career, and I'm talking like 7-figure, 8-figure, multi-8-figure entrepreneurs, they all have the same feeling when they're about to do something new. I'm not sure. And that's the feeling. Oh, we'll see. I'm not sure if this is going to work. We'll find out. We're going to take what we know before, we're going to apply it. And if it doesn't work, we're going to have to shift something, kind of like as we were talking about being like water. But it's amazing to hear that from like the person who has never launched anything, who's just starting out, to the person who's launched many things and has lots of success, the same exact thought and fear. Like, we'll find out. I'm not sure. We'll see where this goes. Like, it's amazing that that's synonymous, regardless of where you're at in the journey.
Definitely. And it's kind of fun to have that feeling again, right? It's like you kind of need that little spark every once in a while to go like, all right, that was fun. Like I need that new challenge of like being uncomfortable to keep myself like energized. I don't know. It may go terrible, but at least I tried, you know?
Yeah. So I got one more question for you, and I'll let you think about it, and then I'll tease some stuff we have about our conference. So the question, I asked Josh this question too when he was presenting to the mastermind. So the question is, if you could go back, and I'll give you one of two options. You can go back to when you first joined the Branded Bills like launch, or you can go back to where you were on the floor of that friend/stranger's house in San Diego, and give yourself one piece of advice. What would it be? So I'll let you think about that, and then I'm going to hit listeners of the show. So we released passes for FITposium. They are out and they are selling so fast. In fact, as of hearing this, when you listen to this episode, our VIP passes are more than 50% sold out. You cannot wait. You have to take action. Our early bird special ends at the end of this month. Go to FITposium.com. Get your passes in. We've already announced that we'll have Chris Harder on stage. We'll have Danny J on stage. We'll have Lisa Simone Richards on stage. We'll have Billy Polson on stage. And on top of that, Strong Fitness Magazine, both the editor and art director of Strong Fitness Magazine, they're coming out to Arizona. They will be at FITposium. They're going to be taking your meetings at FITposium, and also they're going to be casting for projects for the magazine. And they're only the first of our magazine partners that we're announcing, and these are only the first 4 of the presenters that we're going to be announcing. So we're going to have a lot more announcements. Stay tuned on that. Head to FITposium.com. All right, Dave. So back to the question. The question was, if you could give at either point in this journey advice to yourself from what you know now, what would that advice be?
Just go for it.
Oh, I love that.
Because I mean, I did that moving out to San Diego, then kind of like settled that feeling a little bit and wanted to get kind of that safety net going a little bit. Same thing with Branded Bills. I had restaurants, they were doing well, could have sat back on that, but I don't think you'll ever regret going for it. Like you'll know. And the unknown to me is scary in terms of like what could have been. If I do it and it doesn't work out, it's a lesson learned, and I'm going to apply that just like I've applied the coffee shop, the restaurants to Branded Bills somewhere else in life. But if I never experience it or go for anything else, I'm just going to keep on my current path. And like if that current path, if you're fine being content, which I'm not, I'm like always a pusher, I think you have to go for it, whatever that is. If it's, you know, moving somewhere else, if it's going for a relationship, if it's going for a new job within your company, like you can walk out there and be disappointed, but you won't have regret. And to me, like regret's the worst thing in the world.
I love that. So where can people go to, because I want every listener of the show to head over to your Instagram, head over to your website, check out all the amazing products you guys put out.
All our hashtags at Branded Bills for Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram, brandedbills.com. And then be on the lookout this week or early next week. We have our first Branded Bills vending machine launching in Old Town.
That is amazing.
It's a really cool idea. Our warehouse manager had been kicking around, came to me with it. We made it happen, and we're super excited to see how that turns out, because it's, you know, right now everybody has online access to us, but the ability to go and purchase a hat on a whim after a few beers, maybe a win for us. So
it's the anti-online access. It's even better.
And it's just kind of, I mean, that's a testament to us just trying stuff new. We didn't buy 10 machines. We're just going to try that new one, see what happens with it. But it's a lot of fun and looks pretty cool too.
I freaking love it. I'm so proud of all of you guys. Like, it's amazing that all the connections I'm having with people that went to school with, that I, you know, just because of life, we have not been connected, and to see this all coming back together and to see you guys just thriving means so much.
You
so
too,
proud
You're
of all of you guys.
Yourself, so keep it up.
Yeah, I don't like to brag, but yeah.
That's fine. You got to brag sometimes, right?
Dave, thank you so much for being a part of the show, and really, really excited for you guys.
Thank you for listening.